I've been driving trucks cross country for 15 years. Same route, same stops, same routine. You stop noticing the mile markers after a while. The towns blur together. But there's one place I always look forward to, a little motel off Highway 41 in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Perfect halfway point. I'd pull in every Tuesday night around 10 p.m., grab room 7, sleep, and be back on the road by 5. I had insomnia for years, mild, manageable. Some nights were better than others, but I got by. Then I found the motel. About 6 years ago, I was filling in for another driver, just a one-time route through Kansas. Around 10 p.m., somewhere off Highway 41, I saw a neon sign cutting through the dark. Best Sleep Motel. I remember laughing at the name. Sounded like false advertising for a place that hadn't seen fresh paint since the 70s. But I liked it. Something about it felt right. I checked in. Betty, the owner, gave me room 7. That night, I slept like I hadn't slept in years. Like I'd fallen off the edge of the world. Woke up feeling like a new person. I was supposed to go back to my regular route the next month. But I couldn't stop thinking about that sleep. So I worked it out with dispatch. Traded shifts, rearranged everything until I could make this route my regular Tuesday run. Just so I could stop at that motel every week. That's when my insomnia got worse. Much worse. Most nights, it took me hours to fall asleep, if I slept at all. I tried everything, pills, meditation, white noise. Nothing worked. But here's the thing. That one night of sleep at the motel could keep me functional for the entire week. Like I'd been charged up, recharged. The insomnia was still there the other 6 nights, worse than ever, but Tuesday nights made it bearable. When I arrive, check in, take a shower, and climb into bed around 10:50, I'm out cold within 10 minutes. Every single time, like clockwork, best sleep of my week, hands down. That's why I always go back. Why I rearranged my entire life around it. I always stay in room 7. Betty, the owner, would have the metal key ready before I even reached the counter. Once I asked her why she always put me there. 7's a good number, she said. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Lucky number. Keeps the bad dreams away. The room was always immaculate, too. Cleaner than any motel room had a right to be. And there was this scent, subtle but distinct, like fresh forest after rain. Pine, something green, and flowers. Made the whole space feel safe. I asked Betty about it once what air freshener she used. Oh, that's not store-bought, she said, still smiling. A client gave it to me years ago. Homemade thing. I only use it in room 7. She touched my arm gently. Special room for special guests. I laughed it off at the time. But she was right, I never had nightmares there. Just deep, peaceful sleep. I don't know why, but I didn't touch it. And there were the other guests. Or rather, the lack of them. In 6 years, I never once saw another person staying there. The parking lot was empty, just my rig under those same sickly yellow lights. When I mentioned it to Betty once, she just smiled and said, Tuesday's a slow night. You're my regular. My Tuesday man. The way she said it, like I had a specific job, should have bothered me more than it did. You tell yourself you just forgot. You tell yourself these things. 3 weeks ago, that routine broke. I was running late. A blown tire outside Selena set me back an hour. By the time I saw the motel's flickering sign, it was nearly 11 p.m. The parking lot was empty. That should have been my first clue. Just my rig and the humming fluorescent lights making everything look sickly yellow. I walked into the office and the bell above the door rang. Betty wasn't at the desk. Instead, there was this younger woman. Mid-30s maybe, dark hair pulled back tight, and this weird, wide smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Help you? She asked. Yeah, room 7 if you got it. We've got every room available tonight. Her smile widened. Though room 7, Betty always saves that one for her special guests. She handed me the metal key. Her nails were long chipped purple. Dirt caked under them. Fresh dirt. She hadn't blinked once since I walked in. You must be very special, she said. Where's Betty? Betty doesn't work after 11 o'clock. She leaned forward slightly. But don't worry. I'll take good care of you. Just like she did. Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl. I just took the key and left. Room 7 looked the same. Same floral bedspread, same barn painting. But the air was too still, too heavy. And there was a smell, faint, like moist earth, and something organic I couldn't place. Wrong. I dropped my bag and noticed the digital clock on the nightstand was unplugged. I plugged it in, and immediately the display lit up. 11:17 p.m. The exact time. That was strange. I always had to set these old things manually. It already knew. When I sat on the bed, the mattress felt different. Like the shape of it had been subtly changed. I took my shower, but the bathroom mirror had condensation before I even turned on the hot water. By the time I climbed into bed, it was nearly midnight. I lay there in the dark, waiting for that familiar heaviness to pull me under. It didn't come. I tossed and turned. The sheets felt scratchy, my legs restless. That earthy smell seemed stronger now, like the room itself was holding its breath. This was my real insomnia, the kind I never experienced here. And that's when the fear really set in, because I realized something. I'd never been awake in this room past 11 p.m. Not once in 6 years. I was off schedule, and the clockwork magic wasn't working. Around 12:30 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate. They stopped right outside my door, and the doorknob rattled once, just testing it. Then the footsteps moved on, and I heard the door to room 8 open and close. I got up and checked the peephole. The hallway was empty. I went to the window. Only my truck was in the parking lot. Then I heard the voice through the wall. A woman's voice, speaking in a rhythmic chanting pattern. Room 4, empty. Room 5, empty. Room 6, empty. Room 7. A long pause. Room 7, still awake. My blood went cold. 3 soft knocks came on my door. Room 7, the voice whispered, and I recognized it now. The woman from the desk. Betty promised me you would sleep. The doorknob rattled violently. I didn't answer, didn't move, didn't breathe, but I was terrified the door wouldn't hold. Then that scent came, the one from room 7. Fresh forest, pine, grass, and flowers. But now it was mixed with the earthy scent, overwhelming and choking, like standing over freshly turned soil at a gravesite. Seeped under the door in a wave. I heard footsteps approaching from the other end of the hall. Running. Then Betty's voice, breathless, urgent. Stop. Please, not yet. You promised, the woman hissed. How many more do you have left? A long silence. Then the forest smell began to fade. I heard her footsteps retreat down the hall, slow and deliberate, until there was nothing but silence. I went back to bed. I crawled under the sheets, trying to disappear. I lay there, trapped between terror and exhaustion. I don't know how long passed, but the adrenaline eventually gave way, and I drifted into a fractured, shallow half-sleep. I woke up at 4 a.m. and left without checkout. That day, I drank so many cups of coffee I lost count. I was exhausted, but even that night, safe in my own apartment, doors locked, I didn't sleep. For 3 weeks, I was in bad shape, too shaken to drive, unable to face that route or any other. So I took an emergency vacation, 3 weeks of staring at motel ceilings and barely sleeping, relying only on pills. Last week, I finally had to get back to work. Last Tuesday, I almost didn't go back. But I'd been dealing with a week of crippling insomnia. My body was breaking down. I pulled onto the highway, convinced myself that if I arrived at 10 o'clock like before, everything would be fine. But then came construction on I-70. I watched the clock tick closer to 11 p.m., my hands sweating. I pulled into that parking lot at 10:57. Another truck was parked there. Not mine. Someone else's rig. Betty was at the desk, putting on her coat. She looked up, and I saw resignation cross her face. She handed me a key without a word. "Room 14, she said flatly. "Around back." "Wait, can I get room 7? "Room 7's not available." Her voice was clipped, cold. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I glanced toward the window, toward that other truck. "You gave it to someone else?" She flinched. "Room 7 is not available," she repeated, sharp now. She finally looked at me, terrified. "Just go to your room," she whispered. "Lock the door. Don't come out until morning. And whatever you do, don't go near room 7. Then she was gone, her car peeling out like something was chasing her. I stood there alone. The clock on the wall ticked over to 11 p.m. And then I heard the bell above the door ring. I walked quickly toward the back. Room 14 was smaller, darker. It smelled musty. I sat on the bed, intending to shower, but suddenly an overwhelming fatigue washed over me. I felt drained, like someone had flipped a switch. "I'll just rest my eyes for a moment," I told myself. I fell asleep immediately. But it wasn't the peaceful sleep of room 7. This was different. Wrong. Like being pushed underwater. The nightmares came in fragments, disjointed and surreal. I was watching someone sleep from somewhere above, as if I were pressed against the ceiling. At first, everything was blurry, just shifting shapes and shadows. Then the scene slowly sharpened into focus, and I realized with a jolt of horror, it was me lying in the bed below. The woman with the purple nails was in the room, or had she always been there? She was preternaturally still, waiting. Then her mouth opened, and the shadows in the room seemed to warp, the very air flowing toward her. My sleeping body on the bed grew blurry, its edges smudged and losing solidity. I needed to wake myself up to scream a warning. Somehow I knew that if I didn't, something permanent would be stolen. But I was paralyzed. I couldn't move, couldn't shout, couldn't even twitch a finger. I was a ghost, trapped and forced to watch myself being unmade. She turned her head. She looked up. She saw me watching. The scene shattered. I was digging in darkness. Dirt packed under my bleeding nails, but I couldn't stop. Couldn't even remember why I had started. There was something down there that had been screaming my name, but now it was terribly quiet. When I finally uncovered it, a form wrapped in rotting cloth, I didn't want to look. I looked anyway. The earth was full of such shapes, a field of graves stretching on forever. Betty's voice reached me, distant and broken. "I'm sorry. I had to. I had to give her someone." Someone? Or many someones. Then the dirt was in my mouth, gritty and cold, filling my lungs. I was being pulled down into the earth where it was dark and close, and something was breathing beside me in the confined space. It smelled of pine, grass, flower, fresh soil, and decay, all mixed together. A whisper brushed directly against my ear. "You weren't supposed to wake up." In that moment, I couldn't tell if I was buried, asleep, or if there was any difference left between the two. I jerked awake, gasping for air, but the room was still dark. I lay there shaking, unable to move, unsure if I was truly awake or still trapped. When I finally opened my eyes again, gray morning light was filtering through the curtains. I looked at my hands. There was dirt under my fingernails. Real dirt, fresh dirt. They smelled faintly of pine and earth. When I went to check out, Betty was at the desk, looking haggard. Dark circles under her eyes, hands trembling slightly. As I handed her the key, she pressed something small into my palm. Her fingers were ice cold. "Safe travels," she said, not meeting my eyes. In my truck, I opened my hand. It was a folded piece of paper. In Betty's handwriting, just 3 words, "Never come back." Below it, in smaller letters, "You'll sleep again after a month." I looked up. Betty was standing in the office window, watching me. She put her hand on the glass, not a wave. A final apology. I drove away and I haven't been back since. The insomnia that followed was the worst I'd ever experienced. No sleep at all. Not even the fractured half-sleep I used to get. I consulted every doctor and specialist I could find, tried every pill and homemade remedy available. Nothing worked. I couldn't go to work, couldn't function. By the end of the third week, I was hallucinating, barely human. I nearly drove back to beg for a room. Even nightmares were better than this slow destruction. Then, exactly 1 month after I left, I slept. It wasn't sound sleep. It wasn't the deep, perfect rest of room 7. But it was something. Enough to keep me alive. I went back to work on a different route, one that never passes Highway 41. I'm afraid if I saw that motel again, if I saw that sign, Best Sleep Motel, I wouldn't be able to resist. The temptation of room 7 would be too strong. Sometimes I think about that other truck in the parking lot the night I stayed in room 14. I wonder if its owner became the next special guest. Lucky or unfortunate, I can't decide which. Did he suffer from terrible insomnia too? Did Betty give him the same warm smile, tell him 7 was a lucky number? Is he sleeping soundly every Tuesday now, charging up for the week while something feeds on his dreams? I don't dare go back to find out. Sometimes, when the road gets quiet and the sky turns that deep blue before dawn, I think about room 7. The air there, the weight of the sheets, the way it felt to finally, completely let go. They say addiction isn't about craving what makes you feel good. It's about craving what makes you stop hurting. Every time I pass another flickering motel sign, a part of me wonders if it would feel the same. Just one more night, I tell myself. Then I keep driving,